Oi, what the bloody hell just happened in Australian politics? Dutton got absolutely cooked, Albo's strutting around like he's the second coming of Whitlam, and the Liberal Party. Mate, they're flopping harder than a sausage on a cold Bunnings grill. If you reckon this was just another election, wake up, sunshine. This was a political earthquake, and the aftershocks are only just starting. Peter Dutton, the so-called strongman of the Liberal Party, just got pantsed in front of the whole nation. This wasn't just a loss. This was a public execution. Albanese didn't just win. He buried the coalition 6 feet under and danced on the grave with a smug little smirk and a fair go slogan. And the worst part, Dutton didn't even see it coming. The bloke thought he could scare voters into submission with the same old tough talk. Immigration, national security, the usual boogeymen. But Aussies saw through it like cling wrap on a meat pie. Before we unpack this Albanese-Dutton disaster, where Albo crushes the coalition, Dutton disappears into denial, and Aaron Violi's the last man standing. Smash that like button, like you're erasing Dutton from Aussie politics. Subscribe if you're sick of political dinosaurs, and grab the Albo-lutely clueless shirt. Links in the description. Now here's where it gets spicy. While Dutton's out there spitting dusty lines about holding the government to account, Liberal MP Aaron Violi's doing something that actually matters, he's listening. That's right, a Lib who's not just yelling into the void, but actually using his ears. And guess what? He's the only Victorian Lib who gained a swing. A bloody miracle, if you ask anyone in Melbourne right now. While the rest of the party went up in flames, Violi held on like a tradie clinging to his last VB on a Friday arvo. And here's the twist. While Violi's out here being all humble and thankful, Dutton's still deluded, acting like this was just a tough night at the office. Mate, it was a bloodbath. You didn't just lose votes, you lost the room, the script, and the entire plot. But let's be real. This isn't just about personalities. It's about a party that's completely lost touch with real Aussies. People are struggling to pay for groceries, can't get into a rental without selling a kidney, and the Libs are talking about tax breaks for people with 3 investment properties and a Tesla in the driveway. It's not just tone deaf, it's political suicide. And now, Dutton's getting ghosted by Donald Trump himself. Yep, Trump, the bloke who used to be the right wing's golden god, is now calling Albo a great guy and straight up ignoring Dutton like he's yesterday's leftover curry. What a plot twist. It's like Pauline Hanson joining the Greens. You couldn't write this stuff. Meanwhile, Violi's trying to steer the Libs back on track, saying they need to offer an alternative government. But here's the kicker. They don't have one. Not now, anyway. What's the plan? Who's leading the charge? Because if it's still Dutton, mate, you may as well gift wrap the next election and deliver it straight to Albo with a card that says "Cheers, champ." And can we talk about how Labor pulled this off? It wasn't even about grand ideas or revolution. Albo just looked normal, calm, relatable. He wasn't preaching or yelling, just quietly reminding people that maybe, just maybe, politics doesn't have to be a circus. Meanwhile, Dutton's out here trying to run the country like it's a military boot camp, wagging fingers and scaring boomers with tales of cultural collapse. Spoiler alert, it didn't work. What really stings for the Libs is that voters didn't just reject them. They laughed at them. Young people, city voters, working families. They looked at the coalition and said, "No thanks, mate. We're not buying what you're selling." And now, the Libs are left holding their hats, wondering why everyone's walking away. And don't even get me started on Sky News. Those blokes need CPR. Watching them react to Albo's win was like watching your uncle lose a bet and pretend he's fine. They spent months screaming about socialism, cancel culture, and The Voice, only to realise no one cared. Not enough. Anyway, Aussies were too busy trying to pay rent and get their kids into a bulk billing GP. Violi, for all his spin, is right about one thing. The Libs need to listen. But will they? Or will they double down? Shove more hardliners to the front and hope that Screamin' Louder wins more votes next time. Because if they go full tinfoil hat, it's over. Labour win again, and again, and again. And Dutton will be nothing more than a cautionary tale in a Year 10 politics class. So what's next? That's the real cliffhanger, innit? Does the Liberal Party finally grow up and start talking to Australians like real people? Or do they keep living in a fantasy world where they reckon scare campaigns and old white blokes shouting on telly are still effective? Here's the truth. The coalition got smashed because they stopped listening. They treated voters like a problem to manage, not people to represent. Albo didn't win with fireworks. He won by showing up and not being a dickhead. That's it. That's the formula now. Be decent. Have a plan. Don't be Peter Dutton. If the Libs want any chance in the next election, they've got to ditch the dead weight. Bring in younger, sharper minds like Violi and actually stand for something again. Because right now, they're not a party. They're a punchline. So, yeah. Dutton got dumped harder than a Tinder date who brings up crypto in the first 5 minutes. Albo's waltzing off into the sunset. Violi's the last man standing in Victoria. And the Libs? They're facing the biggest identity crisis since Tony Abbott tried to wear a high-vis vest and talk climate. Smash that like button if you reckon Dutton's time is done. Subscribe if you're sick of watching blokes lose elections, then pretend nothing happened. And grab the Albo-lutely clueless shirt. It's funnier now than ever. Links in the description. And let me know in the comments, should the Libs boot Dutton, or is he the ghost of elections past that just won't bloody go away? We'll be watching, and so will the rest of Australia.